Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is it going, everybody? Oh boy, it is the RambleCast. This is July 23rd, 2025. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me I have Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
And look at me with all this enthusiasm. I don't know where this came from because it was not here 8 seconds before I hit the button. Corbin can attest to this. He's not, but
Yeah,
okay.
I'm kind of zoned out, I'm gonna be honest. It's been a long week and it's only Wednesday.
Yeah, that'll happen when things are going to total chaos everywhere around us. Oh boy, but hey, Austin, Diablo, how are you two doing?
Hello,
Hope your
hello.
week is turning out well. Um, let's see. Oh, I didn't even click over and look at that yet. Okay, that's not important. Just glancing at the Discord and being like, oh no, what's in politics today? Um,
Nothing good. There's never anything good.
no, there really
Um,
isn't.
s- Speaking of nothing good, I'm just kidding. There is some cool wireless charging news. Isn't that fun?
Yeah,
The Wireless Power Consortium, the WPC, which is sort of like the standards body for wireless charging, now has a 25-watt wireless charging spec for Qi 2, with Qi being the normal wireless charging specification. And they said that they have already certified a few devices to use this faster wireless charging speed, and there are, quote, several hundred, end quote, more to come. And it means that future iPhones should support it, and presumably more Android phones. And this is hopefully a big deal. Number one, because adoption of Qi 2 in general has been slow, especially the magnet part. One of the kind of the main reason everyone was excited for Qi 2 was that it sort of standardized Apple's MagSafe magnets in a way that would make them likely to appear built in on some Android phones. And that hasn't been the case. I don't think anyone has done that. Um, it's possible there might be like some Chinese OEMs. I don't know, but I've not seen like Samsung do it or Google do it.
yeah. I was gonna say I am almost dead certain I remember somebody did it, but I have no idea who it was. And except I know it wasn't Google. I know it wasn't Samsung, and I'm pretty confident it wasn't OnePlus.
Yeah.
And
Um,
of the names we know that don't aren't like predominantly Chinese brands, that basically just leaves Asus, and I don't think they did it. I don't know. I'm not following them closely
um,
enough. Oh, and it leaves Sony, and I know they haven't. So,
yeah, and the Verge mentions that the H&D Skyline does have it, but
hmm.
that is one phone from the company that is not selling phones in America anymore, and also the phone sucks otherwise.
Yes.
So, yeah, so hopefully this means more G2 adoption. And the other part of this is wireless charging is definitely like what USB charging was 10 years ago, where the actual standardized charging speed was very low, and everyone made their own proprietary charging solutions to push more power. We had Samsung, I think it was Samsung Quick Charge or Fast Charge, one of those. We had Qualcomm Quick Charge. I still have a few of those bricks lying around. OnePlus has their proprietary fast charging that I think is the same as whatever other company they're based on. Um,
Oppo.
which Oppo, yeah, which is still around. They still have their proprietary fast charging. And um, yeah, so it was a very wild game 10 years ago, but then USB-C and USB PD standardized how you could do fast charging, and most devices now use that, which is really nice because now I can take like a giant charging brick intended for my MacBook and use it to charge my phone. Um, and we've got that figured out, but wireless charging is still in that Wild West stage. So 25 watt is still not up to where some of the proprietary solutions are, but it might be good enough for some of those to go away, or at least they can support both. And then you can just, buy your standard fast wireless charger, and that works with most phones up to that speed. Which is, good enough for most people. And Nil said there was news today that Samsung will charge faster with the S26 series, which will probably also use Qi 2. Yeah, there was the rumor that Samsung is going to boost the maximum wired charging speeds on their next phones, which is interesting, but that would be a thing where I need to see it to believe it, because they have already been doing 45-watt fast charging for years now, which means if your phone is completely dead, it will fast charge at that speed for like a couple minutes, and then it will go back down. So I'd be interested to see if that's a real improvement or if it's just kind of an on-paper spec. So the Samsung phones still look good compared to the other Asian OEMs that kind of go crazy on spec sheets.
Yeah, so I will say, just since you're kind of calling it out, okay, so I've made my position clear a few times. I'm not particularly concerned with getting the absolute fastest possible charging. I think really once you've hit certainly 15 watt isn't super great, but once you're hitting about 25, the returns on charging much faster than that are pretty pointless. I mean, you're down to like, is it going to take me 20 minutes, or is it going to take me 24 minutes to get to a full charge? Like at that point, it's relatively trivial. That being said, the part you were calling out where it charges at full speed for a few minutes and then drops down, like, if I remember, it charges at full speed up until like 70 or 80% on most phones that do that kind of a thing. And at that point, it starts scaling down as each cell fills up. I'm okay with that. I don't know that I really need to see the full speed charging all the way up to 100%.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's because at a certain point, it's about thermals. It's just about like, if this phone charges at full speed for enough time, you're gonna kill the battery and maybe the phone catches on fire. And we all know what happens when Samsung builds a phone that can catch on fire. The results are not pretty.
Well, and
So
also it has a lot to do with the capacity of each cell and the fact that the cells individually are charging at whatever speed. And once an individual cell is basically capped out, like, you could direct more power to other cells and try to charge them faster, but holy crap, you're going to burn those out very, very fast doing that.
yeah,
So, premium speed price, indeed.
uh,
So,
you know what I would love for my premium dollars is for them to put the fucking headphone jack back.
you know what I want, and I've said this countless times before.
And SD card. I don't care that like you can't really put apps on it. That's not what I want it for. Let me use that for photos, please. Thank you. Photos and music and everything else that is fine with SD speeds.
Okay. Yeah, since you clarified it that way, I'll allow it. But I gotta say, I'm enthusiastic to spend a little bit of time using an actual SSD attached to my phone. But that's for a later discussion. But yeah, SD cards. Yeah, I would like to see those back. I kind of don't get why they're not there outside of, obviously, companies just want to sell you higher capacities because that's a great markup point. Um, and I'm sure that is the primary reason they're doing it, though there is maybe a design consideration to be to make there. Nevertheless, no, the thing I want, and we've said it so many times, I think this is the broken record territory, but please just make the phones fit the same shape and size year to year, at least 2 years in a row, so you can buy a case and then use it if you upgrade your phone the next year. And ideally, more than 2 years in a row would actually be really great. It seems like a simple ask. Just saying. I want to see that. It will lead to a better accessory ecosystem if we have that.
Yeah, and Nils was saying, it uses more space in the phone. You can sell more storage for money. Yeah, I know every argument for a good change can be responded with well, then the companies can't be as evil. And to that I say, it's nice to wish for things. I also know I can wish for a lot of things to happen in the U.S. That are unlikely to happen, but I will still wish they happen.
I'm going. I think
Oh,
I'm gonna.
socialism. Socialism is when I have a headphone jack.
You heard it here first. Nothing is socialist until Corbin has a headphone jack. So, take
The
that. Take that, red
the
states.
the revolution will be listened to with my wired headphones over a 3.5 millimeter jack.
Um, Nils going deep with that one. Um, when you say they, I assume you mean Samsung. Anyway, so I'm gonna sort of counter a little bit that the asking for SD cards in phones is not just those things that you listed. So you say takes more space than a phone. Okay, agreed. Um, you can sell more storage for money. Okay, yes, SD cards obviously would be part of storage. Same with cloud storage. Um, but you can also use them for moving things between people in uh, in scenarios where you don't have like high bandwidth. You can also use it for moving things to your phone. You could use it for double storage. So let's say keeping a copy. Let's say you take photos on your phone for a living or video or whatever. Having two copies of a file can actually be a really big deal. Or just moving the file off of your phone to another destination. These are all really important things, and doing that with an SD card could actually be a better solution in most cases, or at least in a lot of cases. So, just saying there are other reasons why people want it other than just blanket. I want to have more storage in my phone.
But I want to have more storage in my phone.
That too. The headphone jacks, sadly, I think everyone's right though. It's never gonna happen. It
Yeah,
should. It's not.
I'm so interested to know when my when I'll hit my line of like, no, this is non-negotiable. Because I see a lot of those people who are like, my non-negotiable was like thing the smartphone market ditched 10 years ago, and or like something the smartphone industry ditched 5 years ago, or same thing with computers. And I do wonder when I will become just absolutely insufferable about something, because like I miss headphone jacks and micro SD cards and a couple of other things we've lost along the way, but like it's they're just like, it'd be nice to have them. I've never hit a point where I'm like, I'm never buying a phone that doesn't have a headphone jack. because like again, I could just use an adapter. It's not that big of a deal. But I know there's gonna be something coming that I'm gonna finally be like, nope, I'm not upgrading. I don't care if every phone turns into this. I'm not doing it.
Okay, I'm.
Because I see those people, predominantly older people, but not necessarily. Just eventually hit their point where they're like, no, this shit sucks. I'm not doing it anymore. And then they just like refuse to get, you know, refuse to keep evolving in the times. And it's something I can sometimes respect, and I'm always interested in where that line ends up being for different people. I
Part
guess
of me
you get it with everything,
imagines.
I guess.
Part of me imagines you hitting the wall with folding phones.
Um, no, because like I don't think I'm like anti folding phone. I'm anti all of the current problems with folding phones. I don't have a problem necessarily with the form factor, but just that like they are inherently less durable and waterproof than a phone, and that's not changing for the foreseeable future.
Fair enough. Um,
I do think I could maybe get there if there comes a time when like Apple just doesn't let you run your own software on a Mac anymore, um, or something along those lines. I could see something like that. I'll go back to Linux, I guess. Um, but
to
yeah,
be
there's got to be something coming. I know it. I'm just would love to look into the future and see what middle-aged Corbin is absolutely insufferable about. Besides politics, but that's fine.
yeah. Well, we
I'm
all tell
gonna
you
I'm gonna
that.
I'm gonna talk to you
Um,
far too long about the evils of government and also why I will not buy a modern PC.
okay, so I'm okay. So first off, I'll completely agree. The moment that somebody says you can't run whatever software you want, outside of a few reasonable limitations. I mean, when both Apple and Microsoft are both out there quietly, they won't say it, but the fact that both of them can at any time say, "Oh, we recognize a piece of malware. It has a signature. We're just gonna auto remove this from your system," and they just push out something that does that. Okay, I get that. That's like identifiable malware. Fine. Outside of that, if they ever hit the point of like just blocking pieces of software just because, yeah, you'll lose me too. Um, as far as phones
Yeah,
today,
clearly that's not a deal breaker for me with phones.
right?
But I know with other people it
Definitely,
is. Like I will sideload APKs until I die kind of people. Which
right?
again, I would like that, but it's not a deal breaker necessarily for me.
Okay, so right now, the one deal breaker I can think of with phones, if one were to come along, it would be portless, completely
Yeah,
portless.
yeah. I don't know if that would be 100% deal breaker for me, but it would be very close. Um,
And that's my point. I'm saying right now, today, if somebody, if someone came out with a phone that is 100% portless, there's just no other, there's nothing to it. Like, if they had some sort of like pogo pin connector or something that replaces the port, so to speak, all right, fine. That's kind of a workaround. But if you went completely portless, that would impose some real problems for me, because wireless is great for a lot of stuff. There are a few things that cannot be done wirelessly yet, at least not at a reasonable level. And there are some side effects to like wireless charging. There are some side effects to wireless data transfer. There are side effects to a few of those things that would be deal breakers. So yeah, if somebody tried it, like if portless started happening, I would really be stuck in a bad spot.
yeah, and again, not to once go back to being insufferable about politics, but with some of these, it is definitely like a privilege thing. Um, like this is especially common with like very rich executives who will be like, I don't ever use the computer. It's just too many distractions. I don't like it. And then you get 5 paragraphs down in the like, Business Insider article about them, and it's like, oh, their assistant actually does all the work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they're on the computer. Their assistant is on the computer, and then they give them like notes on a printout that they read. Um, so you know, uh, it is interesting. I'm waiting to find out uh when I'll become that person that is like using their PC with Windows 7 on it. You know, 15 years after all support for Windows 7 has evaporated, and just be like, no, it still works. Don't tell me what to do. It's a free country. I'm going to use Windows 7. Which there are too many. There are a lot of those people.
Yes, there are.
Every once in a while, I'll go look at there's like a Reddit or two of the people who are, you'll see them like, web browsers don't work anymore, but it's kind of okay. I can still do this thing. Like,
Hey, for what it's
all right,
worth,
man.
I bet there are still people running the Note 7
Yeah,
because some
yeah.
people just do not want to leave certain things behind, and that, for whatever reason, was one of them.
I'm sure. I mean, statistically, there has to be at least one. Just there was too many of those phones that were released into the wild.
Collector's item.
Uh,
That's fair. It it is a
I
collector's item
mean,
to an extent, but
you can't ship it anywhere, so it's either a collector's item in your home or going to a e-recycling facility. Um, Speaking of e-waste,
oh,
Windows
harsh.
11. Uh-huh. Um, I guess speaking of Windows 7 would have been better, but anyway, there was a big Windows 11 update that rolled out this week. Yes, yesterday was the 22nd. And this has a bunch of the features that have been in the Windows Insider builds for a couple months. I believe all of these are AI related.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus.
yeah, which um again, this is where like I get into this space where I want I like parts of Windows 11, but the parts I don't like are just completely insufferable and evil. That it's hard for me to say anything nice about the product as a whole. I will say a few of these I think are genuinely cool. Um, so there's one thing in here, and I believe all of these require one of the Copilot Plus PCs that have the NPU in them for local AI processing, because all these are using some kind of local AI model. With the exception being Copilot Vision, which is the thing where when you're talking to Copilot, which is a cloud thing still, you can get it to look at your desktop, like basically use your desktop as context input for the conversation. So you could be like, I don't know, like you could be coding something and just ask Copilot, like, hey, how do I do this thing? And instead of you like, copying and pasting a block of code to the chat window, it can just look at your screen and go, okay, yeah, I get it. Um, and that's the thing that the Chat GPT desktop app and I think a couple others already had. So it's not super revolutionary or anything, but kind of potentially useful. But there's all the usual privacy implications you'd have with that. Um, well, one of the things that's kind of cool is they added a search box to the settings app where you can type sort of natural language questions in it, and it will use a database of all the options in there to try to figure out what you're talking about. Like you can type in like can't see my mouse cursor, and it'll see like, oh, here's the setting for the mouse cursor size. So kind of what Apple has been trying to do with the Apple support article search in Apple Intelligence. but I believe this is entirely on device. I was reading they wrote a blog post about how they made this and sort of training this super lightweight local AI model to understand, you know, uh, question phrases like this. Which also leads me to the question of I have to wonder how many specialized AI models are in Windows 11 now. It's got to be a lot because they're doing like it seems like they're doing different models for most of these features, at least the ones that are running locally. Like when you like I really anything in Windows 11 or Microsoft products that don't have the AI credit system should be local. Um, except the Copilot like chat stuff that's on a server and not local. But um yeah, so that's one thing that's kind of cool. Um There's another thing called click to do, which is like a menu you can get to pop up and it'll do OCR on your screen, which is cool. I do like all the generative AI stuff for OCR. That is actually very useful. It's not rolled out yet, but there is another feature they're working on called describe image, where you can select an image on your screen and it'll write a text description of it. And they're also plugging that into the screen reader on Windows. So if you get your screen reader on, it'll try to describe images instead of just using whatever alternative text is available, or if there is, none. Which that is, I think, 100% cool. That is a like uh pretty cool for disability. Uh, I I've seen a lot of complaints from people when they're trying to use a website and the images don't have alt text, or they don't know what's going on because it was laid out weird or something. And those description tools are pretty cool. And generative AI is shockingly good at image and video descriptions. Because I made that browser extension that kind of does that, where you can select an image and it'll write alternative text. And I've used it a lot because I don't want to write like alt text for 100 images every day for my job. It's nice to just kind of like not do that um, every time. And it's one of those AI use cases where you can check it and you'd be like, is this made up? Like, because I'm looking at the image, I just don't necessarily want to think about how to best describe every single image.
It's
Um,
brain melt to try to to describe something over and over again, especially if you have multiple images that are basically the same thing, but you want or you should have slightly different phrasing for a lot of things. It just feels like brain melt to be that repetitive.
yeah, and I've had uh, instances where like I'm using it and I'll feed it like I think I was writing an article about old Macs or something, and I fed it a screenshot of iTunes, and it correctly identified it as a screenshot of iTunes and explained the UI, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So anyway, that's something that like AI is actually good at. So it's cool that that is being integrated into Windows. Um,
That begs a really interesting question. Was it trained on an image of iTunes?
yeah, I mean it would
At
have to
which
be.
at which point wouldn't it have just been cool to have the original image it was trained on instead of having it have to recognize it? I know
Hmm.
it's a random pointless thought, but it's one I'm going to stick by.
AI generated iTunes. Um, and there's a couple other things in here I don't really care about. Like they're trying to add AI stuff to Paint, which I feel like is uh like the opposite of what I feel like Paint should be. Paint to me is that Windows XP Paint that's like this is what everyone used to dick around in digital art. Um, and now it's like here, please plaster it with AI stuff.
Okay, yes,
Um,
but I'm gonna throw a bit of a caveat on this one. This is literally just the Mac OS image playground.
mhm.
It is a
Yeah.
gimmick, but it is also a gimmick that, for whatever reason, people are gonna kind of like. Well, I shouldn't say that because I think no one actually cares about image playground, but it is a gimmick that's there. And if you're already talking about an app as barely useful as Paint, you know what? gimmicks kind of make a little sense.
I don't know. I think that's weird. Um, they also they updated they added a couple of cool things to the snipping tool, which is the screenshot slash screen recorder thing. Which, by the way, uh, the state of screen recording on Mac is still so bizarre. That is one thing I wish they would fix in the next Mac OS update. I know they're not going to. Where macOS has the built-in screen recorder, but it's like the weird thing that started in QuickTime Player, where every screen recording it makes is massive, like absolutely massive file. Every time I have to run it through Handbrake and get it to convert down to a more compressed or lower frame rate recording. And also, there's no sound. You have to do like weird workarounds with like virtual sound devices if you want sound in those recordings.
What you're actually saying is just go get OBS.
I don't. Yeah, that's just more work, though. I would like it to just be a nice shortcut like Windows has.
No, I agree. I very much agree. I think it should actually be as simple as possible and as built into the OS as you need it to be. Sort of the same way that there was a point in history where with Android, screen recordings had to be done with an app.
Yeah, I remember that.
And those, here's the thing. I would call those dark days, but I also kind of loved them because the screen recording apps were actually genuinely really good. And I think they are even still better than the built-in screen recording that you can do with the OS. I'm not saying that the OS screen recording is bad, just that those apps did a better job of it. And or at least some of them did. Mostly because they added functionality that you just wouldn't get with the OS version. So that's the thing. I get what you're saying. I fully agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, for something like screenshots, I want that built into the OS, and I'm only going to use what's built into the OS for the most part. Unless I need to automate like hundreds of screenshots on an interval, like you and I have both had to do in the past. But for something like screen recording, because there's so many options and ways that you might need to and want to do that, I'm actually kind of like, I still think it should be built into the OS, but I also kind of want to go use another app for that, because I think in many cases I'm going to want what the other apps offer more than what I'm going to want features that are built with some sort of intelligence by someone who's thinking, oh, if you're screen recording, you're not just screen recording, you might want this or you might want that. Just to pick a very, very basic example of this, one of the things that you can do with Mac OS, and this is actually a really cool thing. There is the easiest way to see this is there's a screenshot app, I believe it's called Layers, where you basically hit a button, take a screenshot of the entire desktop, but every single window is actually broken out in its own layer, sort of like Photoshop layers. So you can, if you decide, hey, in this screenshot I just don't want such and such window to be visible, yeah, you can just remove it. Like, that's it. After the fact, you can just remove a window. And I don't think you can do quite as much with any of the apps that do video or capture, but I believe you can, like with a video capture app, I think, or a screen recording, I believe you can actually just pick like specific windows. And even if they're in the background or anything like that, you can just record just those windows. And that's a really cool feature that I don't know if actual Windows OS supports that sort of thing, but, and I know that no screen recording app on, or the screen recording features in Mac OS don't support that. I know OBS actually does, so I guess you could just use that, but like, these are things that apps can do that the built-in can't, and I don't know that I would ask the built-in to do that.
I would like it.
I
Um,
I would certainly like it. I'm just saying I don't know if like every feature I might want. I don't know if I would necessarily expect the OS to provide that, or if it's better to just have other developers just make the thing that's actually going to serve specific purposes or use cases.
yeah, I mean, I mostly with Mac, my thing is just it needs sound and for the files to not be gigantic by default. Those are my two issues. Everything else is fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Um,
And hello, Hoobie. How's it going?
and I guess in this Windows update also they added a color picker to snipping tool. That's kind of nice. You can pick a color and get the hex value or RGB. Um, kind of nice. Firefox has that also, and I use that a fair bit. Um, and it's helpful.
You know, I am so used to the fact that that used to be. I don't know if it still is. I kind of want to assume it is, but I thought it got broken at some point. That used to be a feature of Photoshop where you could just open up Photoshop, hit the color picker, and then like I think you had to click on something inside of the image, but then you could drag out to like anywhere on the desktop, and it would just pick from that. And eventually, you had to get a permission for that, but yeah, that was a super useful feature. Always loved that.
Um, and then kind of the other two quick things in this big Windows 11 update is they have a different recovery system now called Quick Machine Recovery, which is supposed to if your PC is stuck booting, it's supposed to reboot automatically into this protected environment and check Windows Update for a fix. And my understanding is that this is entirely to prevent another one of the what was that IT fuck up a couple months ago um, that brought down like all the airport computers. Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure I even
someone
know that one.
someone in the chat uh, tell us what's the I want to say it starts with the B. Uh,
I mean, is this the one?
oh, it's CrowdStrike. It was CloudStrike, that one.
Okay, CrowdStrike. Yeah.
Which was where a bunch of critical Windows PCs and servers were stuck in a boot loop because of a buggy driver update. So this would hopefully prevent that from happening again. But of course, I think they're doing other stuff as well. But that's a helpful thing. Um, and the last thing is just that Windows 11 no longer has a blue screen of death. It's a black screen now. And it's supposed to show a slightly more helpful error message instead of the frowny face with the QR code on it.
Mm-hmm.
But, we'll see. So, yeah, that's a big Windows 11 update rolling out now. Again, all that AI stuff is just for Copilot plus PCs because that needs an NPU. I am curious when they're going to start, if ever, if they're going to start porting some of that to computers and just run it on the GPU, because a lot of them could do that. These are very lightweight models. But at this, it is a funny position where, at least with tech people, most of them hate this. They don't want it at all. So the fact that it requires specialized hardware is an advantage. So I do wonder if they start porting it back, there will just be like mass hysteria, which not completely unjustified. They almost rolled out Recall in its original form as a absolute security nightmare. So I completely I would not say someone is being silly for getting upset about all this.
Yeah, I feel like that one's a thick we'll see situation. But yeah. Well, hey, you know. I guess it's a good Windows update. I'm never going to complain about adding well, I will complain about adding features, but I don't know. Most of this stuff sounds either like nice gimmicks in the case of like the paint edition, um, or at least mostly useful features or improvements. None of it's like game changing though. None of it's gonna make me come running back to Windows. At least not not for
No.
not without the other reasons that I already have that I would like to have Windows also running.
Um, yeah, so speaking of things, there are leaks. We have supposedly official renders of the Pixel 10 and Pixel 10 Pro, or just the Pro. Hold on.
It's both.
Look. Okay, yeah, I lost a tab there. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I've forgotten what the Pixel looks like. I need to
um
relearn myself.
So yeah, the basic summary is Android headlines spread across 2 days revealed the Pixel 10 renders and the Pixel 10 Pro renders. And since I have these pages nice and perfectly lined up, I'm going to flip back and forth between them, and you can kind of marvel at how much they basically look now very nearly identical, with the notable exception that the Pixel 10, while it now has 3 cameras, it does not have that second little sensor stacked off to the right. And obviously, the Pixel 10 Pro is a larger phone. So make of that what you will. None of this is shocking, I'm sure. So,
Yeah, I'm looking at the Google store now, and I'm realizing these phones look the same.
oh yeah, yeah.
This is just they're very slightly tweaking the Pixel 9. I'm sure in a way that renders existing cases incompatible, because we're gonna keep bringing that up. That's our new thing to be insufferable about. Well, not new, but
It's yeah. We're definitely
ongoing.
um
The
let's
official
see, just
policy
for
of the RambleCast is stop slightly changing the size of phones, and also make the Android-based DSLR or mirrorless camera. Those are our two ongoing policy positions.
I okay, yes, there is that, but I'm not necessarily asking Google to do that second one. I'd be okay
Right.
with I'd be okay with
Anyone.
no, not anyone. Not anyone. There's a lot of companies I don't want doing that, but um
Apple.
certainly I I would love to see Apple make anything with Android. I want to
I mean,
see
I'm
I
living in fear of what Apple would charge for a professional camera. I think that would be like several mortgages.
well,
It'd be a
yes,
lot.
there's that. But I would love to see Apple actually make any product running Android. And I know that's not what you meant. You meant Apple making a dedicated camera. Truthfully, I actually don't think Apple would be that egregious if it made a dedicated camera. It would be expensive, and certainly more expensive than you would want to spend, because you're still chilling out there with your sub $500 camera.
Damn
But
right.
and
Got it right here.
cheers, I don't even object to that. um, but yeah, I think if Apple were to make a camera running iOS as opposed to Android, because they will never make an Android-based camera. Um,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll put it back. I'm sorry. This is my Sony Alpha A5000 that I bought in, I think, 2017 on sale. Um, and in that time, I put a little Bluetooth tracker on it. And just recently, for a trip last year, I bought a bigger SD card. I still have the stock lens and this macro lens, and these are the only lenses I bought, and it's fine.
I mean,
Good camera. I
It is.
wish it wasn't micro USB, but other than that, it's good.
Don't you mean USB-C?
Yeah, I think I said I wish it wasn't
Oh, you
micro
said you wish it
USB.
was.
Okay, yeah, I would like USB-C. This is micro USB and micro HDMI. If I have a micro HDMI cable, I don't know where it's
I
somewhere in the big tub of cables that I might need one day.
So Sony did move on to USB-C. My A7 III uses USB-C, so yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. Very happy about that. Because yeah, I'm not a big fan of really any of the old or earlier USB side specs. Um, Unfortunately, Sony stuck with micro HDMI or mini HDMI or whatever. Anyway, they stuck with that one for a long time. And I'm not sure. Maybe they're still on that. I don't know what the latest one has, but I don't think there are a lot of cameras that have not gone to full HDMI for for I
Yeah,
understand
I
the
mean,
reasons. It's a big
there's
port.
yeah, there's like not a lot of room on this for a big port, so I understand that.
That being said, I also have two of those micro HDMI cables.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one.
Mostly because I bought one, then couldn't find it for like 3 months, so I ordered another one, and then I swear it was literally like the day after that arrived, I found the original cable.
That's how it always goes.
It really
Um,
is, but I'm not complaining about it because yay, if one ever goes missing, I got the other one hanging right up there. No chance I lose both of them. There's totally a chance I lose both of them, but I'm going to
I'm
pretend it's not going to happen.
I'm so glad these phones are so goddamn boring that we completely derailed. Um,
Um, well, really quick, I will may as well cover this. Really quick, I will rehash the basic point of yes, the Pixel 10, the regular Pixel 10 is now going to have three cameras. So the regular wide angle, an ultra wide, and a telephoto. And one of those, I believe, it's a telephoto. Who cares? One of them has a macro mode. Um, and basically, they're going to more or less mimic what the pros have, except rumor has it the sensors in the regular for some of these cameras aren't going to be as good as the sensors in the pro. So that's pretty much it.
yeah, so they're saying on the base Pixel 10 primary 48 megapixel, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and 10.8 megapixel telephoto, which I'm if I'm going on the assumption which is right, that is right. I guess that's good. I don't know. My understand I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember back when I worked at Android Police and a little bit XDA. I didn't cover many leaks at XDA. I know the ongoing wisdom was that the sites that published leaks only ever had the images and they kind of just bullshitted the rest for an article. So I don't know if that's what Android Headlines is doing here. But if not, that seems fine. If they are, I think it'd be very funny if Google pulled a Samsung and or back in the day pulled an LG and was like, okay, this third camera, it's going to be the worst macro lens you've ever seen in your entire life. We're digging out the 5 megapixel sensor for them. Because
Oh boy.
they just want to say we have 3 cameras or we have 4 cameras, we have 5 cameras. They don't actually need to be good. They just need to you just need to have a high number so that when the person goes to the Boost mobile store or Cricut or whatever and they walk in and go, oh, that must be a good phone because it has 5 cameras. That's a lot of cameras.
Okay, so you're not wrong about any of that, but I'm actually going to really
So I'm never wrong.
I'm going to actually make you mad, I think, by telling you this. That is As I understand it, not the reason that they do this. The reason, and this feels so insane to say, but the reason they do this is because it is a hack to beat the DxO Labs score. Because DxO Labs actually gives you points, just like it's an additive point system. So if let's say you had a main camera that would score, I don't know, I'm just going to pick a number. Let's say it scored a 70. Meanwhile, you've got a Google Pixel where the score that it would pull off is let's just say a 95. What'll happen is if you then have another camera that is worth, I don't know, a 40, then that allows, then under DxO Labs, that's going to make that phone get 110 points. And I think it doesn't work quite like that. I think their calculation does it a little differently. So, like, each camera is worth less cumulatively, but still, you get more points just by having more cameras. So, DxO was, for a while, a major part of the marketing for a lot of phones. And it like, I remember Android Police specifically, though I'm sure plenty of sites did this, would literally do the whole, like, DxO released its scores for such and such, and it scored blah. And that would be a whole article. No one cares about DxO Labs now, or very few people do. But that was a huge thing for a while. And so phone companies were actually cheating it just by adding cameras. Garbage cameras that didn't matter at all. But hey, it's a whole extra lens, it's a whole extra camera, and they just get an automatic higher score because of it. So, yeah. And now technically Google is kind of doing the same thing with the Pixel 10. But hey, I have faith the cameras are still actually going to be good. So, it's not totally cynical.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't really gone down that road. And in fact, they were the opposite for a long time. They were here's our Pixel phones. There's one camera. Fuck you. You don't need more. This one camera is better than your sorry ass phone with 5 cameras.
David, that actually, I mean, not literally a $300 beating an iPhone, but that did actually happen. There were a couple of relatively budget phones that were shipping with 3 and 4 cameras when some of the flagships were still at 2. And because of that, I don't think they beat those flagship phones, but they came within like a few points of them. So at that point, DxO Labs did actually start just sort of automatically saying, if you don't score a certain thing, we just don't include you in the list. Which is funny because I saw some of the press releases coming from companies, and it's like, oh, we scored blah blah on DxO Labs. You go look on DxO Labs website, and they are nowhere on that list. And then you follow a link, and it's like, oh, yeah, they did score that, but their main camera was like a nothing point whatever score. And it's like, yeah, okay, we get it. We get how this works.
Yeah, that is always a fun weird race when you get into products that are built specifically to game benchmarks or those kinds of benchmark studies, because it happens all the time, and some examples are really funny. I remember one thing was there is a web benchmark called speedometer, and it's just kind of a normal like JavaScript benchmark. It like check boxes in a list and like refreshes pages and stuff a bunch of times to try to measure how web browsers roughly are supposed to perform in real life situations. But it got to a point where there were parts of the test that browsers could optimize at the expense of actual web browsing, and they did that. So it got to the point where they made a new speedometer test, and it was like all the big Microsoft and Mozilla and Apple and all the browser vendors got together, and they made a test that was extremely reflective of real world browsing, so that didn't happen anymore. They were like, "All right,
Yeah.
guys, we can't keep all making our browsers worse to get the higher numbers. We gotta fix this."
Well, I remember something similar happening, obviously, with Qualcomm
Yeah,
and
the
a few others.
Geekbench.
Yep.
Everyone wants to cheat at Geekbench.
Yeah, the Geekbench cheating was pretty prolific and honestly hilarious. Uh, but yeah,
It was so funny when the phones would cheat on that, and then also people just make up Geekbench ratings and put them in there, and all those stupid websites would cover them every time. It was so funny. You just go in there and write, guys, I ran my benchmark on a iPhone 17, and there would be like at least one blog that's like, guys, we found the iPhone 17.
oh yeah. Oh man, we made so much fun of sites for doing that. AP was just brutal internally. Like we mostly didn't call out sites publicly. But there were a few times. But yeah, we mostly let that stuff slide and just let Reddit do the vicious attacks. But yeah. Yeah, a lot of sites did fall for this stuff, or rather, I think they chose, like, they knew what they were doing and they were just okay with it. Um so the I think the final comment, since we have these renders and we do at this stage basically have the colors, I think it bears calling out the same classic point that gets made over and over and over again. Um there are bright colors on the regular, and then you go to the pro and the brightest thing is um jade, which I will argue right now, anyone who calls this jade has obviously never actually seen jade. It is the softest, palest green you could ask for. um it's like a cool mint, or as Android Headlines calls it, a soft pistachio. um but yeah, the pro phones are basically black, white, gray, and mint. And then you get over to the regular and you have black, a very heavy, not bright blue, but definitely on the brighter side. Something that is white enough, and then you have something they're calling limoncello, which is basically a neon yellow green kind of place. Look, I'm not gonna say I like their color picks. I think they're actually kind of bad. But at the same time, I find myself asking, why the hell don't the pro phones have anything a little bit more lively? Um, and also, why don't they have good color picks on the regular phones? But why do pro phones just automatically have to be the dullest, most like tepid color choices?
I know. It's the burden we have to bear buying the better phone is, oh, you're a grown up who doesn't like fun colors. That's what tech companies think of us.
I mean, I'm gonna put it inside of a case anyway. So should it matter? No. But does it? Yes.
It's insulting for sure.
In
What,
those
you think I'm above fun colors? Absolutely not.
in those rare instances that I'm going to have the phone out of its case, I want it to look nice. Or if I'm going to use a clear case, which I'm not going to do, I'm again, I'm an adult, so not going to use a clear case. But if I were to do that, I want it to look nice. Give me a nice deep, like, cherry red, something that looks like you would paint a Corvette with it, and I'm into it. Give me a midnight blue that looks like midnight blue. You know what? Give me green, but give me an actual jade, a nice dark jade green. Sold. Any of these solid, proper colors, I will buy those in a heartbeat. Or let's go with a royal purple. There you go. Four colors that would all be, I mean, absolute chef's kiss. Where the hell are the real colors? Um, Austin saying, but the Pixel Fold only gets the alternative colors. That's a fair point.
Hmm. I'll have to investigate this further. Um, Speaking of fun colors, um,
Okay.
last thing here is Apple released new betas of iOS 26 and macOS 26 and all the yearly updates that have the fun liquid glass redesign. And the this has been a wild ride to watch because it really gives the impression that Apple did not test this at all. Maybe, I don't know. Because they released they showed this off at WWDC and they released the first beta, and immediately everyone was like, I can't read anything. Like the translucency was off, and how the text color uh on overlaid elements was off. So yeah, just a ton of screenshots of people posting on social media and forums of them having like a white wallpaper and it trying to add like white text on top of that with like a little bit of translucency, and you couldn't read anything. And they started tweaking that more and more in the subsequent betas to the point where it started to look more like current iOS. Like they really toned down the translucency. Um, but in this latest release, they pumped it back up, baby. Liquid glass is back, and it looks awful. Just, and I don't have the betas on anything. I have the macOS beta in a virtual machine because I can do that without sacrificing a device. So I'm just going by the screenshots I see on Mac Rumors and other places. But this is still, it's still bad. It's back to the original problem where if you on that article from Mac Rumors, if you look at the App Store, they have blue text on a dark background on that primary button in the nav bar, and you can't read the text. That is not, it's not really readable. Um, and then on the one below that, they have red text on a pretty light background, and that is also difficult to read. Um, and you know they have other screenshots in here that look less good, and I saw a few on my Mastodon timeline, and uh it's not good. I'm sorry, I don't know why they decided to revert this back. I think also, now that we've determined that somewhere hidden within the operating system is a variable for how translucent these elements should be, that needs to be a sliding. That needs to be a slider in the settings. On release. So give me that, please, on my phone and my Mac, so I can turn them all the way off, or just a little bit of translucency as a treat. Um, but I'm not a fan of anything I've seen here, and I'm going to drag my feet for sure when I get the notification that this update is available.
So what you're saying is this was your deal breaker. it's it was the
Shockingly
translucency.
not. It's this is, again, we're back to like the headphone jack thing where it's like I'm not gonna be happy about it, but
You'll give in
I'll wait.
someday, but
I'll wait a while. You know, maybe I'll wait a month.
okay.
I'm not gonna be in a rush.
All right. I'll let you have that one. Um
This is also the tech journalist dilemma, where it's like this is terrible, but I need to subject myself to the terribleness for content purposes. Um, like this was a thing. One of my old bosses. I won't name and shame, even though this isn't shaming, but in case they don't want to talk about this, but one of my old bosses had a policy of having a uh, computer that was just absolute default Windows experience, and that was their main computer. And so every time Microsoft pushed another annoying ad or some other junkware or something, they saw it and you could write about it and be like, "Here's how to turn it off." That was just endless content. So I could subject myself to the beta now to write about how terrible this is, but I don't want to.
Fair enough.
I'm not that dedicated to the cause, sadly. I would be if I had a spare phone. I'd be okay with that, but I only have my one modern iPhone. The other ones I think already got left behind on iOS updates.
So when I look at this, I'm inclined to say yes, it's worse than beta 3 for sure. But I think, as I remember from beta 2, it's at least better than what that was. Now, that's not saying a lot. It's definitely not saying a lot, because it was pretty bad in beta 2 from what I recall. Or was it beta 1? Whichever. But yeah, this, I don't get why they thought they were just going to be able to get away with this. Because I'm sure they probably tweaked some algorithms, probably found some way to sort of like try to keep a little bit of better contrast, maybe in limited situations or something. But they did it badly, or rather didn't do enough of it. And somewhere in there, I'm sure, is Alan Dye, who most people probably don't actually recognize that name, but Alan Dye is the guy who's basically behind a lot of the design elements of iOS, macOS, and really most of the things that have any sort of software interface to them. I'm sure that this is his work because he loves this sort of stuff. He's sort of famous for really awful interfaces. And a lot of other people have kind of been holding him back, and I think he finally pushed this through. That being said, I don't get it. Why, like, obviously the company heard the opinions. They heard people complaining about this, and they sent it back to the drawing board for 15 minutes worth of tinkering, and then decided, yeah, let's ship it anyway. That, what were they thinking? I mean, to me, this is iOS 7 levels of, guys, you did it wrong.
No, this is worse. This is way worse.
It's definitely worse, but
it's like iOS 7's shame was that
it was just ugly. It wasn't unusable.
Right. It was just like you made everything flat and it doesn't look that good. But this is the opposite direction. It's like you have made everything as unflat as possible. And I can't read it. I don't know what you did.
Yeah.
Like iOS 7 would be a welcome respite from this. I have to say.
Yeah, and I'm not going to disagree with that. It obviously was better than this, but it's the point of, they had so much pushback, so much direct, obvious, like, people don't like what they're seeing, and they went ahead with it anyway. I'm wondering if that's the situation here. I'm curious, are they gonna, like, will there be a beta 5? I honestly don't know if there is or not. I assume there will be. But
well, there would at least be a public beta
right,
as we get closer.
But I'm just curious, are they just gonna rush forward despite the fact that, and look, I'm not trawling Twitter or Mastodon or Blue Sky trying to figure out, like, what are the opinions by and large of this. Like, are there people that like it? Maybe there are, but I feel like the general consensus has been, no, this sucks, please don't do it. And is Apple just gonna be like, nah, we're good, we're just gonna do it, it's cool, don't worry? Apple has not had a great history of being directly responsive to people who have comments like that, but this seems like a time when they really should be. Like, there should be some straight up, like, oh no, you know what, we heard, we get it, you people don't like it. We're gonna turn it into a toggle, or we'll try this again in the future. Not today. We'll be back next year, and so get ready for it. But don't worry, it's not gonna happen yet. Like they should do something like that. Instead, it feels like they're just gonna rush forward with this, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't. I would love to know what's going on inside of Apple to cause this kind of stuff, because like it is one thing to, again, I've not used iOS 26. I've used the macOS beta a little bit. I understand designing something, and then once it gets into a lot of people's hands in the real world, it turns out to not be a good idea, and you have to change stuff. That's why the betas exist. That's fine. Apple has a lot of resources, but they're not testing. I don't think they have employees in like every country in the world in every possible environment testing the iOS pre-release betas. They have a lot of testers, but it's a much wider field, so I understand why some of this might not have come up. But to sort of roll back a little bit, and then now to
Except a lot of
seemingly
the
double
problems are
down.
a lot of the problems are appearing in their own apps.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is something you miss.
Well, the app thing, I think, is it's the same issue that third party apps would have, which is that the OS designers are changing things faster than the app people can respond to, which is a different issue. But more just like the concept of releasing this redesign that seems to just generally be not good. I think like if your role as an interface designer is to make something that is intuitive and easy to understand and readable, this has mostly failed. And they started to roll it back in the betas, and it seemed like, yeah, okay, that's what you should do. That's a good move. You can still have a little bit of transparency, but just not, to the point of being unreadable. And now they've, kind of reverted closer to what it originally looked like, where it's difficult to read. See, I don't know. There's some weird disconnect here that I don't understand, and I'm sure, related in some way to what's been going on with Siri and Apple Intelligence, where there's just some major management disaster somewhere that is causing these kinds of decisions, especially because Apple Intelligence has been kind of a mess because it was delayed repeatedly, and then even when they did release it, it turned out to be bad, to the point where like you have the BBC putting you on blast, which is a very rare, like they won't even put Israel on blast for most of the time, but they were on the spot about Apple making their notifications lie to people. And then they like would kind of roll it back and then not really. And I don't know if this is true, but I know one of the theories about this redesign is that it's supposed to come out last year. And the justification for that is that the Photos app on the current iOS that came out last year has a much different design than the rest of the operating system, and it's closer to this. So the theory is that they pushed this design next year to the current year, but they left the Photos app in place because that was just too, they were ready to put that out. So, if this took this long with this result, and then to seemingly double down on it, that reads as some very poor management to me. Something's broken somewhere.
And
because again, I don't necessarily fault them for putting out a beta that's buggy and bad. That's kind of the purpose of that. But now it seems like they're doubling down, and I'm concerned.
Yeah. So Hoopy brings up a point, and I don't remember where I heard this before, but and I'm sure it was something that was shared in the Discord. But I do remember there being some sort of a discussion about basically what we're seeing is similar to, or kind of brings out a lot of the interface traits of the Vision Pro and Vision OS. So I get that. I'm not gonna deny that that makes some sense, though. I think at a certain point, the best interface for a watch is not going to be the best interface that you have on, a face computer. The best interface you have for your phone isn't necessarily the best interface you have for your Mac. So, these are...
Which Apple itself makes the point over and over again. Like, this has always been their argument about why don't you make a touchscreen Mac, or why don't you put macOS on an iPad? And they'll say every time, like, the interface is not designed for that. It's a bad experience, which has some truth to it. If you've ever like tried to use a Windows PC in touchscreen mode, it is difficult to press some of those buttons sometimes, and it doesn't look that good. But in this case, Apple's like, all right, go for it.
Yeah. and I hate saying this as a defense of Apple, but in a lot of instances, it's not even Apple that's using that defense. It's usually people who are choosing to defend Apple, usually based on some obscure individual comment somebody made at some point in history. So a lot of times Apple isn't even trying to defend these things. They just do them, and the cult comes up with its own follow-up thoughts. So, and I don't know why, but I'm just so stuck on this point. But you brought up how the BBC put Apple on blast, and it immediately reminded me at that time Taika Waititi brought up Apple's keyboards, the MacBook keyboards, during like an interview or something, and it was just, that was the gut punch for Apple. Because the butterfly keyboard was so unpopular already, but Apple just kept sticking with it for reasons nobody could understand. And then Taika comments on it and referred to the keyboards as horrendous and impossible to write on. And it was like the next year Apple's like, yeah, no, we got rid of those, or we're replacing the butterfly keyboard with scissor switches. Yeah. And within a relatively short time, the butterfly keyboard was relegated to just like one specific like MacBook Air model or something. And yeah, it was I look, I don't know if it was his comments or not that did it. Maybe Apple was just already on its way to doing that, and he hit them at just the perfect time. But oh boy, did that just look like one person calling out Apple at the right time made the seas part. Which makes me think people should probably be calling out Apple more often. Just saying.
Yeah. Also, speaking of interface design, I have to question MacRumors here, where in some of these screenshots they put the old design on the right and the new design on the left, and then other ones they flip it. I've never seen anyone do that. That's really weird. Someone was making these in a hurry and didn't think about it all that much.
Are you sure? Because on mine, all of them have at least the text on the bottom says beta 4 on the left.
Oh, I guess they fixed
right.
it, because when I saw this article originally, they were in weird orders. And the top comment, if you scroll down.
Oh, never mind. Oh, what the hell did they do here? Okay, at least the last one.
Yeah.
The text starts saying beta 4 on the right, beta 3 on the left, but the text for that is reversed. Like, nobody would do that. Okay, so they screwed up on the last one, which is funny because the last one is where it's readable. Mm-hmm. So beta 4
yeah. You're like, it's an improvement. Oh.
I don't know. It makes me wonder, is the text right or is the text wrong in that? Anyway, whatever.
Someone check on MacRumors. I hope they're doing okay.
Yeah, it's before and after is usually the right way to do this. And Um, yeah, they got it wrong here. But hey, each to their own,
Yep.
I guess.
So I'm not super excited for Liquid Glass. I did finish an update to my Firefox theme that makes Firefox look a little bit more native in the macOS, which is just I made the toolbar curved. Actually, I'll dig up a picture of it. Um, oh shoot, where is it? But yeah, I made a long time ago. I made a theme for Firefox that makes it fit in a little bit better with Mac, and I was trying to figure out how to get that to work for this because Firefox does not support translucency in themes at all. Like I can't make the window itself translucent. It doesn't do that. At least through the API. I know you can hack it and do stuff. Um, and so what I ended up doing is a very silly abuse of their multiple layer support, inspired by all of the web dev classics, where in the olden days when you wanted to make a square with rounded corners, you would make little images of the corners in Photoshop or whatever, and then tile those on the element, and that's how you got your round squares. Um, so inspired by that, here I'll send you the link. Is this the link? Shit. Okay, yeah.
Release the
Um,
links, Corbin.
I'm sorry. I don't have this published, so it wasn't accessible. But what I figured out how to do is I made an SVG in Inkscape. I learned Inkscape or enough to do this of a little pill title bar, and I made three images, one for the left side, one for the right side, and then one in the center that repeats along the width. Um, and it looks okay. It doesn't look quite right because again the tab bar is like a different shadow, and there's other stuff happening here that isn't quite right, but it's good enough. It's close enough. So I'll release this. I think when I'm gonna do it when the new macOS hits release candidate status, because that's when Apple's like wrapping up. I can push this out. But yeah, so that's what I try to do.
Cool. Oh, oops. As
And it
I
was really
completely
it,
forget to switch over to it.
and it was really funny working on this because when I made this theme originally, I based it on the design and colors for Safari. Like I literally took a screenshot of Safari and was going crazy with the color picker to map out the colors. And I did this here, and I was like, "This is awful." I like I opened Safari, and it on the Mac build, it does this thing where in windowed mode it looks okay. It's using like a decent amount of translucency for the title bar and stuff, but when you go full screen, it switches to a white background, and you can't see anything. You cannot see where the buttons are. They even were doing this thing where they were using like an underline on the tabs because the tabs, I guess, were not readable enough, and they finally fixed that in the later betas. But when I started this process, I looked at Safari and I was like, "This is awful. I don't want to copy this or use it." So I tried to mess around a little bit and come up with something a little bit better. Good
Oh,
times.
copying what Apple does and then being like, "No, this sucks." Going away. Uh, well, yeah. So, um, I don't know. Man, I'm glad that the liquid glass stuff so far doesn't seem, at least from what I've seen in a few pictures, doesn't seem like it's hitting macOS half as hard as it's gonna hit iOS. Um, because man, I want nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah, macOS is just getting hit with the ugly stick in different ways. Um, like the apps with sidebars are like getting their window controls moved around a little bit more, and Finder's doing that weird thing where until you scroll down and the title bar becomes translucent, it's like a white back. It's like white buttons on a white background differentiated by just a drop shadow on the buttons, which is my least favorite flat design UI ever. So I don't know why Apple decided to copy that, but whatever.
Oh, there's a lot I don't get about their design direction these days, but I mean, it's not the worst. It's I can point to certainly times when Windows has been pretty abysmal, and still is to an extent. And I wouldn't say Linux is in the best spot either, but man, Apple's definitely taking steps backwards right now. It'd be nice to see them kind of just take a pause, just recognize not the right time to do it this way, and change course. That'd be good. Change course.
That'd
Apple.
be nice. It'd be nice. Also, be nice if they brought back my headphone jack. Anyway,
Good luck.
yeah. So I guess that's it. I guess we're done. That's all we got.
Indeed. Yep. So, I would say it was a short show, given that we somehow only had 4 topics, but we trailed off into like 6 other directions. So, it was like having more topics. Anyway, yeah, that's about it for this week. There was surprisingly little in the way of interesting news, or at least, we didn't really get too motivated or moved by most of it. But it is what it is. So, let's see. Corbin, before we take off, is there anything you would like to pitch, publish, mention, or describe in excruciating detail?
No.
Yay! Okay. In that case, I will be back this weekend for some game streaming. You know the deal. Overwatch 2, most likely. Who knows? Maybe something else will pop in on those streams. And let's see. Of course, the 2 of us will be back next week for another RambleCast. And let's see. Of course, if anyone would like to help out the channel, contribute in any way, shape, or form, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Any little bit is always helpful and welcome. And of course, massive thanks to supporters of the channel: David, Diablo, Austin, Carson, and Alyssa. Y'all are awesome, and I somehow brain farted just barely into saying any of that. It happens. So, with that, thank you all for coming by, hanging out. Huge thanks to those who were just in the chat room. And we will see you all in the next one. Good night, everybody.
Bye.